Well, there's one series that I know you conveniently showed up for here today. Charles pointing out in the chat, Moretto, he's gone, but he's somehow back just in time for the Maple Leafs to be eliminated from the playoffs. Moretto, I'll give you the floor first. Obviously, I have thoughts. I've given thoughts on different shows already here, but where are you at in regards to the downfall of the Toronto Maple Leafs? Game 7, yet again. Overtime, yet again. Another loss to the Boston Bruins. What's going on? How are you feeling?
So this has to be the least self-aware fan base in professional sports, this Toronto fan base, because
Oh,
I
really?
mean,
Oh, hold
we,
on, hold on, hold on, hold on. You got people out here like the Ottawa Senators who declare that they've won the
uh,
offseason every
that's
fucking year,
that's
and you're
fair.
gonna say that the Maple Leafs are Come on, come on.
Okay. Okay, let's just go through the timeline of events though here. So after game 4, the vibe was rightfully very low. I think you kind of had a breaking point there for Leafs fans where like you realize something has to be done. We it had been pathetic up to that point. The same flaws as always had kind of reared their head. And we've been doing this for like 10 years now, right? Where it's the same thing over and over and over. I think Leafs fans kind of saw how those first 4 games played out and realized like we have to make changes once and for all. This is probably for the best. We can't just run it back. These issues aren't going to correct themselves, right? We can't keep trotting back this core 4 with Keefe and Shanahan and everything, and just like hoping to jam this square peg into a round hole. Doesn't matter if you're losing game 5, losing game 6, losing game 7. Everyone sort of seemed to know what needed to be done. A little short-term pain for long-term gain. And then everyone just lost sight of it. Like 2 mediocre games against a Bruins team where you win the 2 games to get it to game 7. They didn't play particularly great. And this is, again, a pretty bad Bruins team. The bounces just sort of go your way, and you end up squeaking out 2 very tight wins, again, where you're not scoring goals, you're not breaking through. Now it's suddenly like, we believe, we're back. I don't know. You got guys talking about their cup pedigree again. If we can just get Matthews back now and this and that, like, if we can just get over the hump. Last year we talked about getting over the hump, and they finally got over the hump in the first round, and then they went and lost in 5 to Florida. And now all of a sudden you're facing a worse team in the first round. You're struggling to beat them. You don't look good. And now you're going to, like, what's the point in winning? You're going to go face a Florida team that's probably going to beat you in 5 games again. I don't know. I just don't know where we kind of lost sight of what needed to be done here. And now, like, we're at a point where Marner has to go, and we need to get rid of Marner, and that's going to fix everything. I think Marner is also a little bit of a scapegoat, and like Marner wanted his money, and Marner asked for his money. He fought hard for his money, and he did not deliver anything close to what he's paid. Obviously, that $11 million price tag is insane. I do agree that Marner's time up in Toronto needs to come to an end, but like, I think we're doing a massive. It's really letting off guys like Matthews and Nylander. And I understand that both those guys were hurt. And I understand that Nylander got his goals. He scored on a wrister from the blue line that was deflected in somehow. And he got a bounce to get his goal, which, a lot of players could have probably just got that bounce to score that goal. I
Okay,
don't know.
hold on. I think a lot of what you've said is fair. I think some of it here we're getting a little carried away. Like Nylander, I think Nylander was very good in the games that he played. Yes, the goal was fluky. Yes, but he also scored 2 more. He scored another one there to kind of cap that one off to end game 6. He scored in game 7, the only goal that the Leafs scored. I understand it's like an empty net backdoor or
Yes,
backdoor pass
yes. It
from
was very
Matthews,
much an
but
empty net goal.
regardless, I think he played really well. And on top of that, if we're going to say like holding guys accountable, fair enough. Okay, yeah, look at some of the other guys there. This is like the only guy that I think has shown up every year for the past 6 years for the Leafs in the playoffs. The one guy that when he got the money, I think it was a little bit much, but like, fuck it, man. He showed up here again. He scored 3 goals. He like leads the Leafs in goals, and he missed the first 3 games of the series. Like, okay, give the blame to the other people. I'll let you go and slander them. I'm going to step in and stop that one right there.
Okay. I am
Okay.
old enough to remember when William Nylander was the liability. When Marner was the guy scoring the penalty shot in game 1 against the Bruins, and Marner was the Leafs' best player in the playoffs, and everyone was like, Marner's
Right.
better than Matthews. Marner's better than Matthews. And now Nylander was the one who was fucking around with the puck behind his net and giving the puck away and whatever. Now it's like, where's the period of grace for, like, he's somewhat turned it around, I guess, and he scored a couple big goals, but and maybe he was battling something. He never looked dangerous. He got his goals. He didn't look like the Nylander who last year very much looked dangerous in the playoffs. Nylander had a great playoffs last year, without a doubt. Maybe he was battling injury. I get that. I'm not saying that Nylander's the problem, obviously, or whatever, but like, I just feel like we're letting other guys off the hook a little bit too much. Matthews, I mean, yes, he was hurt. Game 7, he was obviously battling something. You're not going to deny that. But like, where was the good Matthews? And I know he had 3 points in game 2, but like, one of them was a deflected like shot, unintentional pass to Tavares where we turned and shot. It wasn't even that. I don't know. I just think that we're like completely have lost sight of everything here. I think that moving forwards, like, you have to worry about this Riley contract as well. Riley looked brutal. I don't know if maybe he was injured or what the deal was there, but I just don't know where like Leafs fans just sort of lost sight of everything, and like what was gonna happen if they won game 7. What was that going to accomplish? You
Nothing.
Know what I
mean? They were going to lose to Florida. Yeah, they were going to lose to Florida. But I think people just wanted to get this over with and get past Boston for the sake of getting past Boston. Like, once you won game 5, it was like, okay, fuck it. Let's just go and win this thing in 7. Like, if we've got the chance. Like, I don't... Okay, I feel like you just get exposed to some of the morons from Leafs Twitter more than other people. Like, I try now to just filter mine out so that I don't have to see that shit, because I come on here and you're like telling me how annoying Leafs Twitter is. I'm like, I don't know, it was for me. Now I just don't see it because those people are blocked or muted. Like, I'm not reading fucking Jeff Fayette's stupid tweets anymore, so it's not.
Yeah, no, I get Jeff Fayette and Edna Garrett and shit sent to me every day from my moron
like,
Leafs friends.
That's blocked out, so I don't see that stuff anymore. So like, the direction of people that I was seeing and where my head was at was like, Game 4, and so Money and I got to talk about it last week. Game 4 of this series, was so frustrating and was the tipping point, not because they lost, not because they not because they lost or they didn't play well, because they didn't show up from an effort standpoint. Like, it was so abundantly clear they didn't try. And that was like, fuck you. Like, you played a home game with a chance to tie this thing in a playoff series, regardless of how you feel about how they played in the first 3 games. Like, you tie that thing up, you go back to Boston 2-2. That was the tipping point. That was when we kind of just said, enough's enough. Keefe, Marner, like, we had all those conversations, and I stand behind those. Like, that's it for me. Like, Marner's done. I don't want to see that guy in a Leafs jersey ever again for the rest of my life. I don't want to see posters of him on the wall. I don't want to see old commercials that are still stuck around that are getting put onto TV. I don't want to see a pamphlet from 2018 that happens to pop up with his face on it. I never want to see that guy in Leafs uniform, Leafs apparel, Leafs signage, nothing for the rest of my life. He's done. I'm so beyond that. Like, it's over. I don't care where you come in here on, getting rid of him, is it going to improve the team or whatever. The mentality, the mindset, the fucking cancer that appears to be is so like wearing out on people, and to the point that you see Matthews yelling at him on the bench, him throw his little tantrum, and then William Nylander, the guy that you just talked about being the guy that everyone looked at, Nylander turning and saying, stop fucking crying, it's not Junior. Like, that's enough for that. I think the reason that you saw the belief again in people was, I don't think people thought this team was going to win the cup. From the Twitter I was on, maybe on your side was different, Moretto, fair enough. But what I saw was people just being like, let's just win this against Boston because fuck Boston. Like, not because we can do something. It was pretty openly admitted on the shows that I've done here as well. Like, we're going to lose in the next round. It's just a matter, like, if you get there, you're going to lose. It's just like, I don't want the Bruins to have the satisfaction of beating us, their fan base to have it, or that goober up in the box, Jack Edwards, to have this of having beaten the Maple Leafs, right? Like, that was where it was at for me. And I was like, you know what? Let's just get through this series, lose in the second round, and then we can gas all these guys, because I don't want to see the Bruins happy again. I don't want to see this play out. That was where it was at for me throughout that series.
I think this is better off for you, though, because I don't think you're getting many of those changes if you do come back. And then the red carpet is rolled out for the Leafs then to come out and be like, look, we lost Nylander for a few games. We lost Matthews for a few games. Wall got hurt. Sam, we had to start a couple goalies, whatever. Like, and then you're like, what? And we came back and we still beat the Bruins. So like, why are we going to make changes? Let's run it back again. The fact that this went to 7, given everything that happened, is still, if I were a Leafs fan, would be concerning for me because I don't necessarily think wholesale changes are guaranteed right now. I do think some changes are coming. I think that we've kind of reached a tipping point with Marner. God, I want nothing more than for Marner to just flat out to refuse to waive his no trade clause this summer. Nothing would make me happier than to just see him force his way back to the opening night lineup next year. We can only hope. But yeah, I mean, look, I am definitely exposed to a very different segment of Leafs Twitter that mostly has to do with the fact that I think I am surrounded by friends who know I despise this team and know how to really just push my buttons and fire stuff over to me that they know will just trigger me beyond belief. So I think I'm absolutely exposed to stuff that I probably shouldn't be and don't want to be. You know how many times I'll get a tweet sent to me and I'll click on it and it's like, you've muted this account. And I'm like, you know what? Let's see it anyways. And I don't know why, but it's like a drug and I can't stand this fucking team. And yeah, I am upset and I'm not like going to sit here. The one thing I want to come out of this is, and I'm not saying this is his fault or anything, but I'm very upset that Matthews got hurt because he was trending towards another kind of like playoff run that he's had every single year that he's been here, where he does solid and he plays well in moments and he has his games where like he has a big game or scores a bigger goal. But overall, he's not dominating games. He's not taking series over. He's not helping this team break through because offensively they cannot break through. And when you're struggling to break through like that, you need your top guys to come through. And you're not going to see a guy like Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, Braden Point, Kucherov, fucking Mark Stone. You're not going to see these guys go through an entire series where they're just completely shut down. Nothing's happening. These are guys who help will your team over the top. Matthews has never shown an ability to do that, and I'm upset that he got hurt because now we have another cop-out for him where we can go into next season and laugh and, you know, celebrate his 60 goals, his race for 70, and like, oh my God, he's at 65 goals, where like, again, at the end of the day, it's like, who gives a fuck? Because how many goals is this guy scoring for me when it matters? And again, he did not, and I know he was injured, and I know he didn't play the whole series. I know he missed a couple games. I know he was injured in Game 7. But again, 1 goal. He's never scored more than 5 in the playoffs. And at one point or another, you have to start pointing fingers at him and stop looking elsewhere and be like, this is the guy who's supposed to carry us. This is the guy who's supposed to be our leader, our offensive leader, and he is just not getting it done when the time matters. So we have to call that into question, and we have to expect and demand better from him, and it can't be everyone else's fault. So I'm upset that he got hurt because now we're not going to sit here and do that again and he gets let off the hook. But I do think that that's a problem, and I don't think he's a guy like a McKinnon and like a Kucherov and like these guys that have willed their teams to deep runs and Stanley Cups. I don't think we can ever put him on that level of player. And I know he was in the Hart conversation, great regular season player, whatever. I don't think we can ever put him on that level of player until he shows he's able to do it when it matters. And he has never to this point shown that he is able to do that.
Yeah, I don't have a disagreement with that. I think that's fair. So I don't have to push back on that. That's fair. That's a fair assessment. So Money, you got any thoughts on the series?
Oh, I'm just sitting back enjoying the show here. I couldn't I couldn't find any popcorn here when you guys were going off, but I did get some chips. Yeah, I think that I all clearly, as the voice of reason, fall somewhere in the middle here. I understand both viewpoints, and it's like seriously though, I don't even think you guys disagree here. I think that
no, I don't think we disagree either.
Yeah, you're.
I'm channeling it at Zach, but it's not even at Zach. He just happens to be here, so he gets the brunt of it. But he's a very reasonable Leafs fan, and I don't have any ill will towards his fandom.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out like exactly what it was that happened with Alex that has set him off so much with Toronto. Whether it's been like years worth of like just like needling throughout the years, or if it's one particular triggering event that like gets to him. But that's something I will get to the bottom of.
I have answers for you if you want.
yeah, let's go. I want to hear it.
It's just I talked to Albert about this. It's really simple. It's just growing up in Toronto, surrounded by and I grew up playing hockey my whole life and growing up around all my friends who play hockey or like hockey, watch hockey, and everyone are Leafs fans. I'm a Habs fan. My family, we're all Habs fans. And it's just growing up in that environment. You have the little rivalry. It starts out as a rivalry and, you don't like them, whatever. And then it just like grows and grows and builds over the years of people sending you this and, celebrating every little Leafs thing. And this team is the best, and like the naivety. And I'm sure if I was in Montreal, I'd be surrounded by idiot Habs fans who would upset me as well. But this is the environment that I was exposed to. And to this day, it's been 30 plus years of friends, Leafs this, Leafs that, Habs suck this, Habs suck that. And it's just constant, just delirious takes, just the most idiotic stuff you can imagine. Anything from like Vesa Toskala should win the Vezina to like, it's just years of just absolute chaos having to deal with these Leafs fans. Listening to the radio around here where like, Joe from Woodbridge hops on and says he wants to trade, Phaneuf and a package for Sidney Crosby, who's in his second year. And then it's just stupid stuff over the years that just wear on you so much. And then the evolution of Twitter, it just accelerates and it reaches a point where like, I pretty much hate this team as much as I love the Habs. So it's, they're right there. So it's tough. It's tough growing up in this. And all my friends, they drive me absolutely insane too. It's nonstop.
Well, that is understandable. I do have one pushback though, right? In terms of saying Austin Matthews can never be considered at that level. I think that's harsh. I think we're not there yet because didn't we hear the same thing about Alex Ovechkin, right? Like you always hear that until they won, right? So like right. So I mean I do think Austin Matthews is obviously is an elite talent, whether or not he's a transcendent talent in the playoffs. I think jury's still out on that. I don't think we can say right now that it's never going to happen because that's what we said about Ovechkin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm not sure. I don't know. I saw red, so maybe I said never. I don't know if I did say never or not. But what I meant to say was that until he does it in the playoffs, we cannot talk about him as one of these guys or talk about him as this caliber of player. Even in the regular season, if he's putting up 70 goals, like I don't want to go through another regular season where I have to hear about Matthews' chase for 65, 70 goals or like, I couldn't care less. Like there's nothing I could care about less. There's no storyline I could care less about right now than that when like celebrating a guy for his regular season accomplishments again, when push comes to shove, there's nothing that's being accomplished when it matters.
I think Mike Bromberg makes a good point in the chat there too, right? About Cup Finals for McDavid. I think that whether we want to admit it or not, a lot of it does come down to the framing in the media as well, right? Like McDavid is framed a certain way, so he's not gonna catch as much flack as like maybe this year might be different if the Oilers lose to the Canucks in a series that they should win and they're favored to win. Maybe this year will be different, but McDavid doesn't get the same heat that Matthews does for sure.
And I know what Mike's saying. I don't agree with that argument when people say that, and I have my Leafs fans say that, like, oh, I must have missed all the cups that McDavid won. Well, I mean, I agree. McDavid hasn't won when it matters, but McDavid is consistently going out there in series and just being an offensive force at least. I'm not saying Matthews has to win a cup in order to be considered one of those guys, but at least go out there one year, play 2 rounds, and get 20 points in 14 games, 12 games. Like, just put on an offensive clinic and put the team on your back offensively. Whether your team around you or your goaltending lets you down or the team wins, that's like that stuff. Obviously, you can't control everything. I'm not saying Matthews can go out there and win the cup on his own. No player in the NHL can do that. You need a supporting cast. But he has to go out there and at least offensively, like, what's that been, like 13, 14 playoff games in a row where the Leafs have not scored more than 2 or 3 goals, or they scored 3 goals once, I think. Like, you can't have that. Like, he's got to go out there. Like, McDavid, even in the years that they're, out in the second round, whatever, like, he's putting up 25 points, 23 points. Like, he's putting up almost 2 points a game. Like, you have to just go out there and carry the team offensively. At least do your part there, and whatever else happens, but at least do your role. Like, you fill your role and do your job.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that is fair. But yeah, ultimately, I think at the end of the day, there's a couple of things that are going to happen with this team. It sounds like there's some massive changes coming to the organization. Like from what we're hearing now, it seems like Shanahan will be gone. President of hockey operations role will be completely eliminated. Keefe gone. They want to change the defense. They're going to bring in, they're trying to change the goaltender. Like, there's going to be some massive, massive changes going on this summer. I think that was needed. I agree with Moretto that it makes it easier to kind of say, okay, now this has to happen. You lost in the first round again because this is the way that this is going to go. But again, from a fandom standpoint, I still would have liked to beat Boston. That's just, I can't stand the Bruins and the fact that they've just taken this away from us every year.
I know it sucks right now, but like, I do think the short-term pain for long-term gain. Like, I think this is by far, and I'm all on. There was part of me where, as much as I hate the Leafs, like there was even a part of me that was like, I kind of feel like maybe them winning Game 7 might be best. Where it's for me, short-term pain for long-term gain. Let them win this series right now, so that they don't correct the issues that need to be corrected. So I do think that this was in a way a little bit of a win for you, while it was a loss, and for me, it was a little bit of a loss for me, even though it was a win, so to speak. You know.
Yeah, that's enough.